this is Nancy. I'm here at Nanspiration Studios. I'm glad you're joining me for part 4 of this series of short videos on Inside Out Improv. We've been talking about how music tells stories and how we can create music in the moment, and it's called improvisation. This next example I want to share with you is one called The Beehive. This group of students I was working with came up with this idea, and they wanted music about a beehive. They thought that would be interesting. Before we listen to it, I just want to invite you to do the same thing I did with them. Take a moment, jot down a couple of words that come to mind, or just think of them, about a beehive. What does it look like? What does it sound like? What would be your experience if you were near a beehive? What would be your experience if you were a bee that was approaching or working or existing around the beehive? Are you ready? Okay. Here's the improvised piece of music that came from that discussion of the beehive. Okay, I'm curious. What's one of the first things you noticed? One of the things that stands out to me is that the pace of the music is much faster than either of the songs we heard before in parts 2 and 3. There is a musical term for how fast or how slowly the music goes. It's called tempo. The tempo of this song was faster. Did you hear the bees buzzing around the hive? Even the selection of the instruments that I chose was different. Instead of just piano, this time I incorporated some sounds from the harpsichord to create an edgier sound, to try to kind of match up with that feeling of the buzzing sounds of the bees. Listen again and see if you can hear the bees buzzing. Did you hear it? And did you also hear the busyness of the bees coming and going around the hive? One of the cool things with electronics and music these days is that we can actually record and see music in an electronic format called MIDI. Here is a picture of the bees flying around in the song as captured in the MIDI format. It's pretty interesting to look at a song like that and see what the music actually looks like. So not only might you hear the bees, you can also see them flying in the music if you look closely at this visual representation of the music. I hope you liked the Beehive song here in part 4 of Inside Out Improv. Next up is one of my favorites. You won't want to miss it, so skip on over to part 5 of this series of Inside Out Improv. And remember, make some music, make some joy. To inquire about an Inside Out Improv program for your school or camp, go to whitfieldmusic.com and click on the Contact Us tab.